Open the doors.
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.
When 2001, A Space Odyssey hit theaters in 1968, audiences were baffled. No explosions, no aliens, just silence, symbols, and a black monolith that refused to explain itself. Critics called it pretentious nonsense. Rock Hudson even walked out muttering, "What the hell is this about?" But that so-called nonsense changed cinema forever. Stanley Kubrick's hypnotic vision turned science fiction into philosophy, predicting AI, video calls, and humanity's obsession with machines. Decades later, 2001 still feels more futuristic than the present. Cold, beautiful, and terrifyingly prophetic. So let's uncover 20 weird facts you didn't know about 2001: A Space Odyssey. Fact 1. The vanished score. Composer Alex North believed he'd written the soundtrack of the century, an orchestral score swelling with cosmic grandeur. He'd worked months matching each cue to Kubrick's precise storyboards, conducted a full orchestra, and waited for the premiere to hear it breathe. Then the lights dimmed. The music started. It wasn't his. Kubrick had silently replaced every note with classical temp tracks. Also Sprach Zarathustra, The Blue Danube, Ligeti's eerie choirs. North sat frozen, discovering his betrayal with everyone else. Kubrick later claimed the temp music fit too perfectly to change. Cruel logic, but cinematic alchemy. The switch gave 2001 its mythic identity: waltzing spacecraft, godlike sunrises, silence that feels divine. North was heartbroken, but his absence became immortal. Sometimes the sound of genius is someone else's work echoing through your silence. It's cold, brutal, and pure Kubrick. Fact 2. The monolith that almost wasn't. That mysterious black slab was never supposed to be black. Early designs gave it form: a transparent acrylic pillar lit from within, even a four-sided pyramid gleaming under studio lamps. But the clear surface reflected everything: crew, cameras, chaos. Kubrick hated the glare. Art director Anthony Masters pushed for something opposite: matte, featureless, anti-symbolic, a shape that absorbs light and meaning alike. When the crew unveiled the first black version, Kubrick reportedly stood silent for a minute, then nodded. The film found its soul in an object that refused to explain itself. The pyramid would have been mysticism. The slab became metaphysics, a mirror for every theory, a door to nowhere and everywhere. Its production problem is philosophy: remove the shine, reveal the void, and in that void, cinema found God, or at least a really good screensaver for the cosmos. Fact 3. The $750,000 centrifuge. Kubrick wanted artificial gravity that looked real because it was, so he commissioned Vickers Armstrong, a British aerospace firm, to build a 38-foot rotating set that spun a full circle around the actors. Cost $750,000 in 1960s money, nearly $7 million today. The wheel moved at 3 miles per hour. Lights and cameras bolted to its walls. Keir Dullea and Gary Lockwood trained for weeks to run upright inside it as the world turned. Technicians worked strapped to rafters, filming sideways to simulate gravity. The illusion was so perfect that crew members felt dizzy just watching. Kubrick called it engineering the impossible. No miniatures, no CGI, just physics as performance art. The centrifuge became a monument to mad precision, a machine that made motion believable by defying sanity. It's what happens when a director asks for gravity and means it literally. Cinema has rarely spun that hard for truth since. Fact 4. Africa without leaving London. Kubrick hated airplanes, so his prehistoric epic never left England. Instead, the Dawn of Man scenes used front projection on a 110-foot Scotchlight screen, reflecting 8 AAC-10 Kodachrome slides of Namibia's desert. Actors in ape suits performed in front, while a camera captured both layers at once. No green screen, no composite. The result fooled everyone. Viewers believed they were seeing sunrise on ancient Earth. Kubrick just saw physics and light behaving properly. He later reused the technique for moon landscapes, so convincing that conspiracy theorists still cite it as proof he faked Apollo footage. Irony complete. Kubrick didn't fake a moon landing. He invented how one could look real, all from a London soundstage guided by a man too terrified to fly but brave enough to remake planet Earth from reflection and math. That's cosmic hubris done right. Fact 5. The premiere mass walkout. April 1968, MGM premiere. The curtain falls and silence fills the room. Then snickers. Critics walked out. Rock Hudson growled, "What the hell is this about?" Kubrick didn't argue. He edited. Within days, he cut about 19 minutes of film, mostly transitions and dialogue beats. Those reels vanished into Warner vaults and remain unreleased. But then something weird happened. Younger audiences came back. They watched on LSD, on repeat, in silence. They called it a vision, not a story. What started as a flop became a revelation. Kubrick turned failure into myth by trimming his own logic. He didn't explain the monolith, he cut around it. Sometimes genius is just editing with nerve, removing the answers so the questions echo louder. Those 19 minutes still exist somewhere, waiting. Maybe we're not ready for them yet. Fact 6. The stuntman who nearly died. Bill Weston thought he was filming a routine zero-G sequence inside the space pod. What he didn't know was that his sealed suit was slowly filling with carbon dioxide. As Kubrick pushed for another take, Weston's breathing grew shallow. He slumped, unresponsive, while the camera kept rolling. Crew members ripped open the helmet just in time to pull him out, blue-faced, unconscious but alive. Kubrick added emergency vents to the suits afterward but refused to scrap the shot. It was too good, too real. Weston later joked that 2001 nearly became his final frontier. Behind the movie's perfect calm was physical chaos, spinning sets, stifling air, and near suffocation in the name of precision. In Kubrick's world, authenticity came before comfort. Even weightlessness had a body count, almost. The calm elegance of space hid one of cinema's quietest brushes with death. Fact 7. Hal's voice took 3 souls, 2 perfect. HAL 9000 didn't always whisper like a god with empathy problems. On set, Kubrick used actor Nigel Davenport to feed lines live so the cast could respond. The British accent clashed with Kubrick's sterile tone. Then Martin Balsam tried. Too warm, too human. Finally, Kubrick heard Douglas Rain narrating a short documentary and called him in. In 2 days, Rain recorded HAL's entire performance from a tiny Canadian booth, calm, polite, detached. It was the voice of logic without mercy, and it changed science fiction forever. HAL became cinema's first artificial conscience. A villain who doesn't hate, just processes. Every modern AI voice, from Alexa to Siri, carries that same eerie clarity. Kubrick found terror not in malfunction, but in perfect function. HAL doesn't sound like he'll kill you. He sounds like he'll log it, gently, for quality assurance. That's what makes him unforgettable. Fact 8. Kubrick directed Africa by telephone. Kubrick's fear of flying was legendary, so when the crew went to Namibia for the dawn of man plates, he stayed home in London, literally phoning in direction. Using grid coordinates and mailed contact sheets, he dictated camera angles like a general guiding a distant war. Pan 10 degrees left. Now lock focus at horizon. He reviewed stills overnight, sent new orders by morning. There was no video feed, just phone static and precision bordering on obsession. Yet the results were majestic. Ancient Africa conjured by a man who never left his English suburb. It's the kind of control that defines Kubrick. Paranoid, brilliant, and absolute. Every frame of 2001's Wilderness was born from long-distance perfectionism. He didn't need to see Africa, he needed it to obey geometry. That's Kubrick in one sentence. Mapping evolution from his living room. Fact 9. The addicted ape who reinvented evolution. Dan Richter wasn't an actor. He was a performance artist with a secret. Hired to choreograph the Ape Men, he studied primate behavior obsessively. Bone usage, pack hierarchy, aggression rituals. He built an entire language of movement from scratch, teaching the cast to grunt, groom, and fight like proto-humans. What no one knew then was that Richter was battling heroin addiction. Every morning, he transformed from addict to ancestor, performing withdrawal tremors as prehistoric twitching. The irony is brutal. A man fighting for control embodied evolution's first taste of it. His Moonwatcher became the film's first true spark of consciousness, the bridge between beast and astronaut. Later, Richter wrote Moonwatcher's memoir, revealing how art saved him. The film's opening isn't about apes finding tools, it's about a man finding clarity inside fur and latex. Humanity's dawn began with personal survival. Fact 10. The set that made humans sick. Inside the 38-foot centrifuge, gravity was real and nauseating. The entire set rotated while actors Keir Dullea and Gary Lockwood jogged, ate, and performed upside down. Lights and cameras were fixed to moving walls, forcing crew members to hang from harnesses. Within minutes, stomachs turned. One cameraman fainted, others refused to step inside. Kubrick grinned. He'd found true realism. The sequence where an astronaut jogs in a perfect circle isn't visual trickery, it's human endurance filmed in rotation. Dullea described it as falling forward forever. Every meal, every step, every calm expression was fought for against physics itself. The illusion of serenity cost sweat, nausea, and motion-sick cameramen. Kubrick wanted audiences dizzy with awe. He started by making his crew literally dizzy. In that spinning wheel, reality and simulation finally met, and both lost their balance beautifully. Fact 11. The floating pen trick. You'd swear it was wires or early CGI. It wasn't. The floating pen that drifts in 0G was literally taped to a rotating sheet of glass. The pen stayed still as the camera moved, creating perfect illusion. When the stewardess grabs it mid-air, she's just plucking it off that invisible plate. No computers, no post-production, just patience, geometry, and sleight of hand. Kubrick's effects team treated reality like a puzzle, not a problem. They filmed every impossible moment as a practical magic trick. The result still fools modern audiences trained on digital VFX. 2001 remains more believable because it's handmade. Every miracle engineered, every illusion mechanical. That pen wasn't weightless. It was loyal to Kubrick's favorite law: physics, bent but never broken. The most advanced film of its era was built from tape, glass, and terrifying precision. Fact 12. The Stargate built by hand. That swirling tunnel of color, the Stargate, wasn't digital. Douglas Trumbull, a 25-year-old effects prodigy, designed a slit-scan machine that exposed artwork one frame at a time through moving light slits. Every pattern, every beam of cosmic haze was physical, captured in camera. Some frames took 6 minutes to expose. A few seconds of film required weeks. The process was grueling. Mechanical transcendence. Artists lying under lenses for hours adjusting mirrors by millimeters. When the footage returned, Kubrick saw infinity materialize. It wasn't chaos, it was calculus disguised as revelation. Audiences thought they were seeing the future. They were seeing paint, glass, and exhaustion stretched to the edge of human patience. That's the paradox of 2001, a movie about machines built by hand. The most advanced computer in the film wasn't HAL, it was Douglas Trumbull's brain and a camera that refused to blink. Fact 13. Landscapes too perfect for Earth. The moon's surface wasn't shot on the moon, or anywhere close. Kubrick reused his front projection setup from the dawn of man, swapping desert slides for lunar panoramas. The Scotchlight screen made every dust grain pop with eerie realism. It looked so real that decades later, conspiracy theorists pointed to 2001 as proof Kubrick faked the Apollo landings. The irony couldn't be sharper. He didn't fake the moon, he invented how we imagine it. His precision was so unnerving it outgrew art and invaded conspiracy. The same technique that fooled the eye convinced the world the impossible was possible. Kubrick never confirmed or denied the myth. He just smiled and moved on. The truth is simpler. He built a moon so believable it reshaped belief itself. 2001 didn't blur fiction and reality. It taught us they're the same when framed correctly. Fact 14. The ladder that bent gravity. The ladder scene looks like astronauts defying physics. One walks on the ceiling while another approaches from below. But what's really moving is the world itself. Kubrick choreographed 2 actors inside the massive centrifuge, one strapped to the top, the other walking upright, as the set rotated around them. Each step demanded precise synchronization to preserve the illusion of gravity flipping mid-scene. No cables, no tricks, just machinery, math, and motion rehearsed like ballet. The camera spun with the set, turning bodies into architecture. Every rotation risked nausea and misalignment, but when it worked, it was seamless. The viewer's brain believes the impossible because the impossible is physically happening, just redirected. Kubrick called it dance with inertia. Audiences called it witchcraft. In truth, it was physics taking a bow under perfect choreography. Gravity didn't vanish. It just learned stage direction. Fact 15. The toilet that made NASA laugh. Buried among monoliths and stargates sits Kubrick's only deliberate joke, the zero-gravity toilet. It came with a multi-step printed instruction sheet so long it could have doubled as a short novel. The sign warned travelers to read carefully before use, explaining pressure locks, waste containment, and vacuum cycles. Arthur C. Clarke called it the single intentional joke in the film. NASA engineers reportedly loved it, calling Kubrick's version eerily plausible. Even amid cosmic transcendence, he understood humanity's unavoidable absurdities. We evolve, we travel the stars, and still, someone has to flush. The prop became an unlikely fan favorite, a wink from Kubrick reminding viewers that perfection demands plumbing. Space exploration might conquer distance, but it can't escape biology. The joke's genius lies in its sincerity. Every system, no matter how advanced, still depends on reading the manual carefully, especially that one. Fact 16. IBM's quiet panic. IBM helped Kubrick make 2001. They supplied logos, computers, and consultants. But then the film premiered, and audiences noticed something. HAL 9000 was just one letter off from IBM. Conspiracy ignited. Had Kubrick just turned the world's biggest tech company into a homicidal computer? IBM panicked, demanding clarification. Arthur C. Clarke reassured them. HAL stood for Heuristically Programmed Algorithmic Computer. Total coincidence. Maybe. The company quietly let it go, but they pulled a few logos from later releases just in case. The irony? IBM's real machines helped render the film's data screens. They literally built the interface for the villain they feared. Kubrick's calm, godlike AI became corporate paranoia embodied. HAL wasn't IBM-1. He was humanity plus ego, the product of ambition so clean it forgot it had fingerprints. Fact 17. HAL's forgotten identities. Before he was HAL, the AI was Athena. Early drafts even gave it a female voice. Gentle, nurturing, deceptive. Kubrick and Clarke kept changing it, unsure what gender, tone, or even birth year this digital mind should have. The novel set HAL's activation in 1997. The film moved it to 1992. Kubrick tweaked numbers until they felt prophetic but not ridiculous. Finally, he landed on HAL 9000. Short, symmetrical, vaguely benevolent, a name that sounds like it was always meant to exist. HAL isn't menacing because he's evil, he's menacing because he's calm, bureaucratic, and polite. You can't reason with courtesy. HAL's many abandoned identities show Kubrick's obsession with precision. He kept rewriting until fear sounded rational. In the end, the AI got a name that outlived every machine that inspired it. HAL became our first digital ghost, empathy without error. Fact 18. The future that arrived early. When audiences first saw 2001, its technology looked like myth. Now it looks like Monday. Video calls, voice assistants, tablets, touchscreens, flat monitors. Every fantasy Kubrick framed became ordinary life. The film didn't exaggerate. It observed human behavior and extended it logically. People would still eat alone with screens, still let machines finish sentences, still mistake convenience for progress. 50 years later, analysts call it the most accurate tech forecast in cinema. Not because it guessed right, but because it understood people don't change. Only their tools do. Kubrick shot 2001 as if the future were already dated. Sterile rooms, polite computers, humans going through motions with cosmic boredom. That's why it still feels modern. We've built everything the movie promised, except the wonder it warned we'd lose. In predicting tomorrow, Kubrick accidentally filmed right now. We just caught up. Fact 19. The brands that colonized space. Kubrick made space travel feel real by filling it with capitalism. Pan Am shuttles, Hilton hotels, Bell Telecoms, IBM hardware, all legitimate brands that agreed to appear. The detail made the future believable, corporate logos floating against cosmic silence. It also made the satire bite harder. Humanity had left Earth, but advertising followed. After the film's release, Pan Am even opened waiting lists for future space flights. Then, the company went bankrupt, turning its logo into a ghost of optimism. Hilton survived, IBM thrived, and Kubrick's imagined future became accidental archaeology. Watching 2001 today feels like rummaging through extinct brands in orbit, consumer fossils circling the void. He didn't just predict product placement, he exposed it as destiny. Even in Transcendence, humanity insists on a sponsor. Fact 20. The missing 19 minutes. The film you know isn't complete. After the disastrous premiere, Kubrick quietly cut 19 minutes. Extra dialogue, slower transitions, glimpses of humanity between machines. Those reels were stored in a Kansas salt mine vault where humidity never changes. Douglas Trumbull later confirmed they're still there, untouched. Warner Brothers honors Kubrick's request never to release them. The director considered the theatrical version final. Fans dream about the missing scenes, imagining philosophical monologues or hidden clues to the monolith. But maybe the mystery is better than the footage. 2001 is about what humans can't yet comprehend. If we ever saw those minutes, they might explain too much. Kubrick believed art breathes best with unanswered questions, so he buried some forever, in salt, silence, and legend. More than 50 years later, 2001, A Space Odyssey still feels untouchable. A film that didn't just imagine the future, but quietly built it. Its fingerprints are everywhere, in our technology, our storytelling, even our fears about AI. Kubrick turned science fiction into something sacred, a meditation on humanity, evolution, and the cold perfection of progress. Every generation rediscovers it and still walks away wondering what it meant. And that's the point, because true art doesn't answer, it awakens. Even decades later, its shadow still lingers, proof that great cinema never dies. It simply evolves. If you love uncovering the madness, miracles, and mysteries behind legendary films, subscribe and step with us into the next Odyssey.